Hi marketers, welcome back. Today we're expanding on this idea of creating content. Earlier we went through and took a look at the consumer decision-making journey, and we outlined the different stages consumers go through up until purchase and then also after purchase. We went through and talked about what consumers care about at each particular stage and what our goals as a marketer is at each of these stages. We also went through and introduced this idea of a narrative. A narrative is a really cool idea because it basically refers to a larger theme of a message that you're trying to convey at that particular journey stage. The beauty of a narrative is that there's 100 or even more different ways you can bring to life that message through advertising. So for instance, if you're going through and for instance trying to get across the narrative that participating in a certain charitable run, for instance, or buying a t-shirt to support a charity is a way to honor a loved one, that narrative could be brought to life in a bunch of different types of ads. So identifying those narratives is really useful because then it gives you basically a whole window of different ideas, or tent like I like to call it, that you can then go through and instantiate using that narrative. So for instance, again, think about that one for charity, right? Participating or supporting a charity is going to help you honor a loved one. There could be, 5, 10 different ideas that might come to your head right away of different ways you might display that or bring that to life through different content you could post, videos you could create, things like that. Another example of a narrative you might bring to life is that a business is family run. This might be really important to convincing people to want to buy from that particular business. Think about all the different ways you might come up with to bring that particular narrative to life. Maybe it's photos of a person making food in the kitchen using an old family recipe book. Maybe it's a photo of a dad and a son or their daughter hugging in the restaurant, right? Maybe it's a photo of all of the different family members in front of the sign out in front, right? There's all of these different ways you might illustrate or bring to life that particular narrative. Another example of a narrative could be, this is made in America, or something's going to make you look cool, right? Those different narratives, either one, there's tons of different ways you could bring that to life through different imagery, different videos you could show, different examples of things that are iconic, right? All of those different ideas you might have would all serve that larger narrative and get that across. So for your particular journey map, go through and identify the narratives that you had pulled out before and start thinking about different ways you could bring to life those messages through different ad ideas. There's probably going to be dozens you can come up with, and you want to begin starting to brainstorm those and then going through and thinking about which ones are most realistic and feasible to go through and do, and which ones actually fit within your particular budget as well too. When it comes to creating content, one of the very first questions you want to be asking yourself is this post going to be organic, or is it going to be a paid post or an ad, right? This determines who's going to see your particular post. Stuff that is organic, posts that are organic that are not advertised, are going to have a relatively small reach. Usually a couple hundred people are going to see it if you have enough followers on your account. The other thing to note about organic posts is that it's really only going to be seen by people who follow your account. If you get a lot of engagement, it might go viral and go beyond that, but generally speaking, you want to assume that only really your followers are going to be seeing that particular content. The other thing to note about organic posts is you really have no power to target who of your followers actually sees it. So be careful and think about this when you're going through and creating content that's going to be solely organic. Realize that it's mostly going to be just your followers, and you really have no particular say in who of those followers are actually going to see that particular content. When it comes to advertising, it's a very different story. With advertising, you can be very precise. Because you're paying to have people see it, you can decide if it's your followers or if it's other people who see it, and you can decide the exact characteristics of those people as well too. So if you want males or females or people in certain areas or certain age ranges, all of that stuff you have under your control if you're going through and paying to advertise.